In this video, we are going to understand the examination format, the paper pattern, and also how do you approach this paper law, corporate and business laws for your examination. So let's first understand the exam format, the paper pattern, and then we'll move on and understand that what are some of the things which you should keep in mind when you are preparing for F4. So talking of the examination paper pattern or exam format. So your paper obviously of 100 marks is divided into two sections, section A and section B. Now talking of what is covered under section A and what is covered under section B. Section A would comprise of 70 marks and section B would comprise of 30 marks. Now talking of section A, let's first talk of section A. What type of questions are you going to get here under section A? So this is a completely objective part. You will have multiple choice questions here, MCQs. Now these MCQs are also divided into two categories. How? Let's understand. So you will have 20 MCQs of 1 mark each and 25 MCQs of 2 marks each. Okay, so 70 marks is for objective multiple choice questions. All the questions are multiple choice questions. However, it has been again divided into 20 questions, 20 multiple choice questions of 1 mark and 25 multiple choice questions of 2 marks each. When we talk of multiple choice questions, it is basically objective. You will get a question, you will have options and you have to select the correct option. We are good with MCQs, right? So talking of what is the difference between multiple choice questions of 20 questions of 1 mark each and 25 questions of 2 marks each. So for these questions, you will get 3 options. So we usually see multiple choice questions of 4 options, but for the 20 questions of 1 marks, you will get 3 options and out of those 3 options, you have to select the correct one. However, for the other 25 questions of 2 marks each, you will be getting 4 options and out of 4 options, you have to select the correct one. So section A is a completely objective type. It is a section which is based on knowledge, wherein your knowledge about different laws will be tested. So it is MCQ based questions, 70 marks, 20 questions of 1 marks and 25 questions of 2 marks. Now talking of section B, what are the things which will be covered under section B? So under section B, you will have 5 questions of 6 marks each. Now there can be a subdivision in question. It can be of 2 mark or 3 in 3 marks, 2 questions of 3 marks each, or different subdivisions under questions of 6 marks. So this could be a subdivision under one question of 6 marks. So here you will be given different scenarios and these would be scenario based questions, wherein on the basis of different scenarios, you will have to understand the situation and give your answer. So section B talks of multitask question. So this section basically concentrates on application and analysis. How good you are in analyzing different situations and how good you are in applying the relevant provisions of law at relevant place. Section B completely talks of multitask questions, wherein you will be getting scenario based questions and on the basis of the scenarios, you will have to analyze the question and apply relevant provision and give your answer. So this was all in all the examination pattern. 2 sections, section A 70 marks, section B 30 marks. Section A of 70 marks divided into 2 further parts. One is 21 marker questions and 25 questions of 2 marks each. All MCQs, all objective types, wherein all you will be tested upon is your knowledge about law. However, section B comprises of 5 questions of 6 marks each, multitask questions which are based on different scenarios. You will have to understand the scenario, analyze the scenario and apply the correct provision. So section B will be testing you all about your analysis and application. So we've now understood what is the format of your examination, what would be your paper pattern. Now that we've understood that, let's now talk of what should be your approach towards paper 4, how should you be preparing for this subject. Now talking of when you sit to study, how do you study? First, be very specific with your targets. So if you've taken up one subject or say you're doing 2 subjects simultaneously, make sure that you're allotting time to each subject and you are covering all the topics. You cannot leave any topic, do not indulge into any selective study as such. So when preparing, first set your targets, daily targets, weekly targets, monthly targets, depending on the time in hand. So that is how you first set your targets and work towards achieving your targets on a regular basis. Now apart from that, apart from setting your targets, what other thing is important? Now since your paper comprises of multiple choice questions and scenario based questions, it is very important that you practice as many questions as possible. Now, we usually think that multiple choice questions are easy. Yes, they are easy, but they'll be easier only if you have a good conceptual understanding of the topic, and not only good conceptual understanding, but also if you have done ample practice with different MCQs. Now, what usually happens when a multiple choice question comes forth you? We think all the options are related and at first we think this is also correct and this is also correct, which option to choose? We usually get confused when a multiple choice question comes forth us. Though it is scoring, but it is also equally important that you practice as many MCQs as possible for your examination, as many multitask questions as possible for your examination, so that during examination, it is not difficult for you to analyze and understand the question. So the second thing which you should be focusing on or concentrating on when preparing is practice as many questions as possible. So you have different texts, you have different study texts which are available. So you can use all of those and practice as many questions, as many multiple choice questions, as many multitask questions as possible. Now how is this going to help? This will not only help you in understanding your level of preparation, but it will also help you during examinations, because when you have practiced n number of questions, it will become easier for you to manage time during examination. So it will help you during exam time. Apart from it, what has to be done when you are giving examination? So whenever a question comes forth you, one major mistake which we do is we do not read the question properly, and that's where we lose marks. We do not lose marks by giving a wrong answer, but we lose marks when we do not read the question properly. If you have read the question thoroughly, if you have understood the question thoroughly, you will definitely be able to answer it, provided you have that conceptual clarity and understanding about the subject. However, if you do not read the question thoroughly, if you have not read the question properly, it will become a big problem. So it is always advisable that whenever writing examination, especially for this paper, corporate and business laws, and why is that so? Because it is a theory subject. So it is very important that you read the question and analyze the question thoroughly before you arrive at a conclusion, before you arrive at your answer. So the third point which you should keep in mind when preparing is reading of questions thoroughly is very important, and reading question thoroughly will help you in analyzing the question properly, and once you analyze the question properly, it will become easier for you to arrive at a conclusion and arrive at the correct answer. So this is the other thing which you have to do when preparing, read the questions, and this will happen only when you practice questions. So point number 2, that is practicing different questions and reading of questions thoroughly are interrelated. How is that so? Because when you're practicing, you have to read, and when you read, you have to make sure that you're reading the questions thoroughly. And even during examinations, make sure that you're reading the question properly, understanding the question properly, and then giving your answer. Now talking of one very significant point, though it is a theory paper, but you should always focus on conceptual understanding. If your concepts are clear, MCQs are not difficult, or MTQs, that is multitask questions, will also not be difficult. But if your concepts are not clear, MCQs will also become difficult and MTQs will also become difficult. So when you're studying, do not focus on mugging up the concepts, mugging up the case laws, or mugging up the entire text or definition. Rather, focus on understanding the implications, understanding the provisions, understand how the courts arrived at a particular decision, what provision did they use to arrive at a particular decision in a case law. So that will help you in retaining the things in your memory for a longer time than memorizing or mugging up the things. And apart from it, talking of time management or exam time, so you'll have 2 hours. 2 hours, 100 marks paper, you have to finish in 2 hours. Now most of the questions are multiple choice questions. Now if we do a simple division, it would come to 1.2 minute per mark. 1.2 minute per mark. So when we say 1.2 minute per mark, it is sufficient time and you have sufficient time to complete your paper. But what happens when we are writing an examination? We panic, and because of which we lose upon a lot of time. So whenever you are preparing for your examination, it is always advisable that whenever you are solving MCQs, whenever you are solving questions, whenever you are practicing, at that time as well, give yourself a time and see how much time are you taking for a particular question, which will help you not only in understanding that how much time you are taking for a particular question, but will also help you in changing your time management strategy. Time management is something which is very important and which plays a very significant role whenever you are writing any examination. So 2 hours is sufficient for you to complete that 100 marks paper, provided that you manage your time wisely. And how will that happen? That will only happen with practice and with a proper planning strategy. So these are some of the things which you should keep in mind when preparing for paper F4, corporate and business laws.
Hey, are you considering ACCA as a career path? Then you're at the right place. Call us at 9640 or log into indigolearn.com or download our app OneFin by IndigoLearn.